Hey guys, welcome back. We are here in Tallahassee at Tom Brown Park, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a review, of an initial review on the YT Jeffsy. I'm here basically to give you my initial impressions on this bike on a trail that I already know. I didn't want to go somewhere new. I rode in Alabama yesterday, and the bike behaved beautifully. The video was shit, but that's really something else. Now, this bike is completely stock except for the tires. Minion DHF front, Minion SS rear, and converted to tubeless. So one of the things that I'm really surprised about on this bike is the efficiency. With the amount of travel it has, I was expecting to pay some kind of penalty from the Giant Trans, and I honestly feel that this one is actually better. God, this bike is amazing. Just popped up over all those routes, no effort at all. That seemed crazy easy. That was not me, that was the bike. Pump track here at the Lafayette Heritage Park trailhead is a blast. You could spend hours just going in circles here. I have to zip tie these. The bike is completely quiet and the little cables are smacking against each other. Hey, little squirrel. Now, I bought this bike super theoretically. I just looked at the angles and the information, and I compared it to other bikes that I was able to test ride, and then I pulled the trigger. So I hadn't tested this before buying it, and I lucked out, or I did my research correctly, because I'm loving this thing. Now, size-wise, the size large for me is perfect. I'm a 5'11", 182 centimeters, and 32 inseam, and the sizing on this thing just feels spot on. So dare I use my super cliche enduro review? It's true, but I mean, I have to say it. This thing descends like a beast and then climbs like a goat. I'll be honest, lately I've felt like my riding is a bit subpar because of the heat. I feel like I can not go more than 10 minutes without absolutely being exhausted. God, this bike is fun. Man, that wall ride is awesome. I'm heading back to the car. I can't even finish the review or talk. The heat has destroyed me. So I'll give my long, elaborate opinion on my first impressions on the bike. Well, I'm actually sitting down somewhere else. Hey guys, so it's been a couple days since I recorded that video. I'm sorry that that one didn't work out all that well while I was riding. The heat, it just killed me. It was something like in the 90s, but the feels like in the weather forecast said something like 100. So I was, conserving myself. There's no point in getting heat stroke just because you want to make a video. So I decided to play a little bit safe, tone down the talking, and just focus on the riding. So I've been riding the bike for about 2 weeks now, and I've been to a couple parks here in Florida and a couple parks in Alabama, the most mountainous one to just get some feel for the bike in that sense being Oak Mountain. And I am absolutely loving this thing. So something that you have to understand is that I'm a little bit biased when it comes to comparing this bike to the Giant Trans, because this is a size large and this fits me properly. The Giant was a size medium. It was a tad too short and I felt a little cramped on it. So when I'm going downhill on this thing, the extra reach, the extra wheelbase, and the fact that I fit better on it in the attack position really gives me a lot of comfort. So I'm guessing part of the big increase that I saw is that. That's not to say that I don't think this bike is better. It's just to say that I think that the difference would be less if I had compared both bikes with the proper sizing for me. So a few things about this bike in particular that really stood out to me. It is incredibly efficient for the travel it has. At 150 millimeters, I was expecting it to be a little bit slow, and I did not feel that at all. If you look at the geometry, and I'll go over that at some point in some other video, the rear end of this bike is super progressive. The frame is incredibly progressive. So what I've noticed is that the bike doesn't dip that far into the travel unless you really apply a lot of force into it. So I'm in a position where I can play a little bit with the rear shock and make it kind of plush, but it's pretty firm. So when you transmit power, it doesn't translate into bobbing, it just goes directly into power delivery. All in all, this is a super bike. You will not regret buying this thing, especially when you consider that when you look at the sticker price for this versus some of the non-direct-to-consumer brands, you're talking about in the carbon fiber frame range in a 30 to maybe 50% difference with other brands. And in the aluminum frames, it's probably a little bit less. It's about 25 to 30% difference. But that difference is pretty significant. And if you want to do your own research, what I would say is look at something that has the components that you want. In my case in particular, I knew I wanted something with a pike as a fork. And then look at the bikes that come pre-assembled with that. And look at the sticker price for that. And then look at the sticker price for this, and you'll come to the same conclusion that I did. The price difference is pretty significant. The only downside I would say is you have no local support, which I don't know if it's actually a downside. I personally am not really feeling it because YT is great anytime you call them over the phone. In one instance in particular, I actually called up the guy and I said, look, I'm deciding between a DHF 2.3 and a DHF 2.5 wide tire from the front. And I had a 20-minute conversation with the guy on the phone on what he does to ride in Las Vegas, and he convinced me to run the 2.3. So they're incredibly nice. And for customer support as well, for email, when I actually got this bike, I thought the dropper post wasn't working because it wasn't holding itself up, and it turns out that there's a little bit of a reset process for the brake on the race face turbine dropper, and it got fixed. But they got back to me in less than 10 minutes over email, and they gave me a free Thirstmaster 3000, which is the water bottle for this bike, as making up for the troubles that I had. So I'm extremely happy with the way that they treated me as a customer, and the bike until now has been nothing but great. As far as component goes, that really is something that's a personal preference. You'll find some people saying that they're Shimano people, some people saying that they're SRAM people. I had always ridden Shimano. This is basically almost all SRAM. I think all SRAM. And until now, everything has been working great. I did look at the bleed process for the brakes, and it looks insane. I have no idea why SRAM would do something like that versus how simple it is to bleed a Shimano brake. But, it's quirks, it's nothing major. As long as it works properly, I'm happy with whatever. Now, if I were to nitpick, I would say the stock setup for the suspension is pretty bad. Now, if you're like me and you're coming off a bike with an older suspension like the Fox 32, which had a little bit of flex on it from 2014, and you ride something like the Pike, you will notice that it's insanely good right away. That being said, I've gotten it to behave so much better just by doing a couple tweaks. So don't be afraid to jump into the bike a little bit, do some changes,
look at to what you can improve, try to understand how the suspension works. In my case, I am below the pressure that they suggest for my weight, but I added one token to make it a little bit more progressive, and the fork has been working beautifully. Now, right now, I'm tweaking a little bit of the shock, and I think I'm going to add a volume reducer for that as well, because I would like it to be a tiny bit more progressive so that I can run just a tiny bit less pressure, because it's feeling a little harsh when it's extremely bumpy. Now, that may be rebound, but that's something that I still have to figure out. So I'm still playing with it, and I'm still figuring it out. Something that I haven't used at all is this flip chip right here. And what this does is that it allows you to flip that chip around depending on what kind of geometry you want, and you have two positions, and it'll change the head angle by half a degree. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but the fact that you can have one single bike and change the head angle by half a degree is actually pretty significant. And I haven't done any testing on that, so that's still something that's there theoretically. Honestly, I know I like my bikes a little slack, so the idea of making the head angle steeper really doesn't attract me. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to test that. For now, I'm going to leave it as is because I'm still figuring out so many of the other suspension features that I'm just not going to do anything for that right now. Always keep in mind the bike taste is subjective. This is the best bike I have ever owned, but I am a person who likes to ride bikes that have a little bit more travel, despite the fact that I ride in Florida and I know that it's a flat place. I really like the 140 to 150 millimeter range. My experience is ride whatever the hell you want as long as you have fun on it. And this is the kind of bike that I like. I am extremely happy with this purchase. I think that the value in the bike is superb. I think that the construction quality is superb. If you look at the way that the frame looks, every single little detail looks spectacular. There's no weird creases or anything like that. And the components have behaved pretty well up until now. The guide brakes have not had the plunger issue that was famous for the 2016 ones, so I'm guessing the 2017 ones do not have that problem, because I have already ridden the bike in blistering heat. So my initial review is damn good. I'm probably not going to talk about the bike anymore until I get to a little bit further on, I don't know, like 6 or 7 months riding the bike, so that I have a really significant opinion, because from here on it's going to be a little bit about learning, and I think that what I can tell you is not going to vary that much. Once I have a great feel for it, I'll probably do a follow-up where I can really give you some more details about the nitpicky stuff that I'm going to find over time that is not perfect. But other than that, top notch. If you're considering one of these, just go for it. There's absolutely nothing that you will find as a flaw. The customer service is superb. If you don't know how to build it, any bike shop will build it up for you, because really the build process is just insanely easy. And if you want to see how I did it, there's a little link. I don't know if it's here, wherever the little bar is going to come out, and that'll show you the video of me building the bike. It's crazy easy. So just if you want this bike, I would highly recommend it. I'm extremely happy with it. Well, I'm out of here. The sun is starting to come down. I still have to pedal back home. I didn't bring my car today, so I want to get back before it's actually dark. I will see you for the next one, and happy riding. Oh, and if you have any questions or anything about the bike, feel free to shoot them in the comment section. I will do my best to answer anything I can. If I don't know the answer to it, I'll try to find a way to point you in a direction where the resources are available. And if you think this video is fun and you can check out the rest of the channel, and you think I've earned it, I'd love it if you can click on subscribe.